Called them possibly fiberglass. In the country I was in, they were glass. But in old Mexico, I think they'll call them fiberglass. All right? You'll see that casket. And on this morning, after she's talked to the Virgin Mary and the statue of Jesus, she's going to walk right out about there and wait a little while. And then, you know, other little sisters are coming in, and there'll always be some priest there. And you know what you're going to see? You're going to see all of a sudden a little nun. She'll start from back there. She knows all about this casket, and she knows what's going to happen. She's giving her life for the faith, and that's more than some of we Pentecostal people can do, or will do, or willing to do, or even ready to do. All right. That little girl walks right down this aisle. And you know, the casket lid is open. And she knows when she steps, there's a little step there. She knows when she steps into that casket. She knows when she stretches her little body out and lays down. She knows then two little nuns are coming. And they're going to drop the lid on the casket. And when they do, that lid seals. I said that lid seals. But you know what I wish everybody in this building had to do? I wish you had to stand right there and watch that little nun in that casket die. And about the first thing you'll see her do is her little knees will come up against her chest, pulls them right up tight against her chest. She's fighting death. And the next thing you'll see is her hands coming up about like this. And then watch her little face twist. And just watch her die. Horrible, horrible, horrible thing. That little nun voluntarily, willingly. Nobody compelled her, nobody made her. I said voluntarily, willingly gave her life for the faith. You can see this. All right, and now I'm going to take you on into a cemetery. The guard will take you to the cemetery. And you know, their yard will make any if there's 100, 200, or 500. That guard are in a very massive room. And he has a rope, oh, yards and yards and yards and yards of a rope round around his arm and wrist. He's all of a sudden going to throw that rope out full length in that building. And then he's going to tell all of those people to stoop down and pick up the rope. And young people, if you go through there, don't you get smart. You get a hold of that rope and you're going to thank God 10,000 times for that rope, and so are you older people. And don't you be funny there. You can get lost in there and never be found again, right in that convent. There's a lot of underground there she don't know anything about, and you can get lost there. All right, everybody stooping down to pick up the rope. While you're doing that, the guard's walking right back here, the guide, and he's going to touch a door, trap back there at a door. It's only about this high and about this wide, and it's going to open. When everybody stands up at the rope, then he's going to tell everyone to be back down on your knees, and I mean hands and knees. Hold on to the rope, but you're on your hands and knees. And you're going to crawl, because where you're going, can't walk. You have to crawl. It's a long, long tunnel. And when you crawl through that tunnel, you come right out into a graveyard underneath the ground. And you get up. Now, the graveyard won't look like your cemeteries here. When you get up, it's going to be a room 5, 6 times bigger than this place. And you'll get up, come out back there, and then you get up. And you walk around the wall. Just walk around the wall like this. All right? This close together, there is a big metal plaque about this wide and maybe about this long. It's hanging there on the wall. They're about this close together. And as you walk around, you're going to see at the bottom of that plaque the name of a little nun, when she died, and how she died. All fictitious, no truth to it at all. All right, now what is this? This is a cemetery. Now this little nun right here that give her life for the faith in this casket, when we have to stand there and watch her die, and when she dies, then that casket is going to be picked up. This metal plate will be slipped over, and there's a crack back there in the wall. And this casket will be slid back in the wall, the name plate comes down, and the world knows nothing about it. This is convent life. Then I'm going to take you in just 2 more rooms. I'll take you into this room. As you go into this room, you're going to see something else. And it'll chill every bit of blood in your veins when you go in there. You see on this side there are numbers of tables, 2 rows of them, an aisle between them like that. The tables are about this long and about that high and about that wide. And on either table, in a line like this, and an aisle between them, on this side and the same over here. But on every one of those tables, there's on this side, there is a little glass, I'll call it a little glass casket, you may call it a glass case. It's about that long and about that high and about that wide. And there's one setting on either table. And when you go down that aisle, look at each one. And in each one of those are pickled human tongues. Pickled human tongues. Ask your guide whose tongues. Ask your guide. All right, over on this side, you'll do the same thing. And this is pickled human hearts. I said pickled human hearts. Ask your, this is convents I'm talking about. Now you can go and see, and you can go and touch with your own hands. And Roman Catholics are taking you through, by the way. Oh, I tell you, folk, if you folk could only wake up. You know what's wrong? People don't wake up. How many thousands of people die and go to hell because you won't wake up and even want to hear the truth. You won't obey the truth. You won't go to church. You won't live for God. You won't make any sacrifices. You'll wait until it's too late. They've been doing it all down through the ages. And there'll be thousands and 8,000 millions of people do it all again, even though they can hear the truth, and so on. Oh, I wish I could tell you more, but I don't think I better. There's too much. I have too much. And one thing I want you to do when you get in the kitchen, I want you to see, the kitchen is a good-sized room. I told you about it last night. You walk around the wall of the kitchen, and you'll find at least 100 knot holes about that big around in the wall all around it. What are those knot holes? That's why we don't dare to steal a bite of food. That's why we wouldn't dare to even take a morsel of food in our mouth. You don't know which one of those knot holes a priest or a mother superior is looking through. You don't know. Talk about fear, folks. You don't know anything about fear. Then I'd like to, in this one convent, there's 7 crowns of thorns. I wish you'd pick one of them up and put it on your head and push it down like they did to my lovely Jesus. Then you know what I'm talking about. These are convents. Oh, I tell you sometimes, I wish God could knock the scales off of people's eyes and waken them up to some of these things. Some of you girls sitting no doubt in this building, you'll walk out of this building one day. If you backslide, you'll marry a Roman Catholic. God will bless your home with some precious little children, and one of them may end up in a convent or in a priesthood because you disobeyed God. Some of you young men will walk out of here. You'll marry Roman Catholics if you backslide. And God will bless your home with children. You may lose them to a convent. Don't curse God. It was your fault. You've heard the truth. You know the truth. You've had the truth. But you walked out on God. These are serious things, some of folks, that are going on. I go back to churches. I've been to most of the churches in the United States. I've crossed the United States from one border to the other 28 times. I told you I'd spent 10 years in Canada. I know something about it. I go back and feel a little... I can awaken people in this country. Oh, yes, these are treacherous things. I know all about it. All right, now, I left you under the rug last night. But let me tell you something. You were there only in your imagination. I was under that rug literally, by the way. I was laying there. I'm laying on the floor between the front and the back seat of that car. And the reason they put the dirty rug over me was this. When the car began to move, remember, I'm picked up. I had civilian clothes on. I told you, Uncle John sent me on an errand. And I hadn't gone but just a few blocks until I was picked up by 4 Roman Catholic priests dressed in civilian clothing. And they made me get in that car, and when the car started to move, I sat right straight up on that floor and I began begging for mercy. I know I'm in the hands of my enemies. I'm begging for mercy. Where are you taking me? And what are you going to do with me? And what have I done? I haven't done anything. I didn't know anybody would harm me. I never thought of anybody harming me. And of course they pushed me back on the floor. I sat up again and again, and when I did that several times, they pushed me back the last time and put the feet on me, and I had to stay put. And I tell you, it wasn't anything funny by a moment. And I rode all the rest of that evening and all night long until the following day. And it was a terrible ride. I thought my back would never straighten out. All right. In this following day, I don't know what time in the morning, but it was daylight, of course. They're in the suburbs of a large city. They pulled that car up on the street and they stopped it. The 2 in the front got out of the car. The 2 in the back, or the one first stepped out, and the other one was still in the back seat, and he said to me, "You can sit up." Oh, I just couldn't hardly make it. My back felt like it was broken, but I sat up. But I wish I had never sat up right then. I was scared half to death. I looked through the window of that car right over the top of a convent, and it just paralyzed me with fear. Now I thought that's where they were going to take me, of course. And oh, it was terrible. And then he told me to get out, and I did. And one on either side of my shoulders, and we had to walk from the street. The convent was quite a ways back from the streets, and there was a picket fence about this high, white one around the front part of the convent yard. And so they took me up to the front where those picket fence was, and there was a sidewalk. And I thought they were going to take me in that convent, of course, but they didn't. They was too subtle to do a thing like that. They took me past that convent, and we went, I don't know how many blocks, I've forgotten, 5, 6, 7, or 8, which it was, right on down the street past that convent. Now I'm really wondering what they're going to do with me. Where are they taking me? I don't know. And you know, after we'd gone a number of blocks down the street, and then the priest directed my footsteps. And I'm walking on my toes yet, and I'm still walking with eyes downcast. And you know, they walked me right in like this. And the next thing I know, there's a great big white house, and I'm walking up the steps onto a big porch across the front of the house. When I got up on the porch on the right-hand side, there is a mammoth Roman Catholic church. Then I realized something else. Those priests did not ring a doorbell. They didn't knock on the door. They walked right over and opened that front door and pushed me in ahead of them. And when I come in like that ahead of the priest, on one side there was a stairway where you could go upstairs. On this side, the solid wall, and they took me right through that solid wall, or that stairway, hall I should have said, into the dining room. They took me through the dining room, from the dining room into the kitchen, and they took me through the kitchen, and that was over on that corner like that. And there they opened the door, and they took me from there down a flight of stairs. This was the priest's basement. This is the priest's home. All right, they took me right across the priest's floor over here in the basement, and they opened the door right over here, and of course the two on either side of me just pushed me along, and I'm walking right into a tunnel. That tunnel took me right straight back to this convent where they put the car down here. Why didn't they drive to the convent? Why did they do a thing like this? You don't know. All right, they took me through that tunnel, and when we went through, there was a long tunnel. It was those blocks and blocks and blocks. We had to go through that tunnel to get back to that convent. And when they got me back to the convent, oh, shall I ever forget, those men knew exactly where the secret button is. There's a secret button that unlocked that gate. But those men didn't hunt for it. They knew where it was. And when they touched the secret button, a slide door opened like that, and there stood a Mother Superior. I think they informed her they were bringing me. All right, immediately she took me over, and she said, you come with me. She brought me right down through a large room like this. She brought me right over there, and she told me to lay down on my back on the floor, and I did just as quick as I know how to get down. And then she taps a bell, and here comes two little nuns walking right down this. I've never been in this convent before. I know nothing about it. All right, and when the one nun stopped right there, the other one walks over here, and she set something down on the floor. And I didn't know what it was then, because I had never seen one. All right, and now the Mother Superior gave either of the nuns a piece of rope, and the one is supposed to tie my ankles together, and the other one is to tie my hands tight behind me. And after they finished tying me, then the Mother Superior told the one little nun to pick this up. This is a plumber's torch, and you know what that is. All right, pick it up, bring it over there, and set it down on the floor, and light the plumber's torch. That's gas heat, and it's very hot. I thought they were going to burn me, but I didn't know. All right, then she had one nun get under my ankles, and the other one under my shoulders, and they carried me over here. I have civilian clothes on. I have shoes and hose on then, because you heard the other part of the testimony. All right, now, they were holding me up above the fire, of course. And the Mother Superior walks over like that, and she's standing there looking down in my face, and she kept saying to me, now you recant. You say you're sorry that you escaped from the convent. You run away. You'll never run away again. Now, why should I answer her? I know the Mother Superior. I know their rules. I know their tactics. And I wouldn't talk. I didn't say a thing. She said that 3 times, and I wouldn't talk. Then she said to these little nuns, you lower her body. And don't think they didn't. They lowered my body, and they dropped my clothes when they lowered my body. And that fire picked up my clothes. Well, now I'm on fire. My clothing is on fire. You don't need to think I laid there and waited for somebody to put it out. I fought like a panther. I writhed, I wiggled, I twisted, I did everything. I was trying to get free from that fire, because fire is hot and it burns, and I was suffering 1,000 deaths. All right, now what happened? I don't know where she got it. I don't know what it was, so I try to tell you what I think it was. It had to be a quilt, a blanket, or a rug. It had to be something like that. After she felt I had burned enough, the Mother Superior comes over here, and those girls are still trying to hold me. All right, so the Mother Superior walks over there, and whatever that was, a blanket or rug or a quilt, she just takes it around my body like that. In the midst of that, they drop me. In other words, I guess I just writhed out of their hands. But I lost a lot of hide when I went down, too, because I'm burned. My back is burned badly. My clothing is burned from my back. All right, then she has those 2 little nuns to pick me up and take me in the infirmary and stretch me out on a slab of wood, one of those beds. All right, now, when they did, they walked over here, and I locked the door, and I'm alone over here laying in this infirmary. Maybe if you knew me and I was here long enough, I'll say a lot about hell, because I saw all the hell I ever want to see in the convent. You don't need to think I have any intention of spending eternity in hell. Not for a moment. I saw too much hell in the convent. All right, burns are terrible. The pain is torment. And I've been burned enough that I know what I'm talking about. Oh, I suffered 1,000 deaths. I got so bad that I prayed to die, I begged to die. I tell you how I begged to die. The suffering was so great. And they weren't doing anything from it. All right, the Mother Superior